I am Jena Jake. I am a compatibility strategist and CEO and founder of a company called House of Jewels. So I help people make the perfect partner for to be create the perfect partner for them. And I also, House of Jewels does amazing, fun, transitional, transformational luxury events as well. And
Diversified game. Learn how to start, run, and sustain your business.
Hey, it's Kellen, and today on Diversified Game, you guys are going to hear from Jena Jake, and she's going to give you some game on, especially if you are one of those people, I'm a successful entrepreneur, I got it all, but maybe your mind is going crazy. Maybe you've made so much money, so much progress, hired so many people, you need somebody to help you get those things together that has been tested, because she has a master's in counseling and psychology. She has, other degrees, even from Yale. For those of you who love to hear the Ivy League speak, stay tuned, learn something. Miss Jenna, welcome to the show. How you doing?
thank you for having me, Kellen. I'm so excited to be here.
Awesome. Well, can you let the people know, because we're dealing in a time where everybody online is successful. Everybody has retired their unborn children as well as their mother. And even if their grandmother's still alive, but can you let people know who needs you? Who is your customer? Because I have a feeling that some people don't even know that they need you, and they find you maybe a decade later, and you could save people a lot of time and stress. So please let us know.
My customer is the person that is looking for love. They've built their company, they built their car, they built their house. How about building your mate? How about creating your mate from scratch in detail? That is what we do. I'm a compatibility strategist, and we use personality assessment to see how compatible you are with other people, like down to the nitty gritty of like, how empathetic are they? Are they going to care about my mother? Are they competitive? Things like that. Things that you don't think about. I will take your relationship down.
I'm just curious, how many people find you before their first marriage versus after their first or second or third?
Mostly it's not the first go around that I work with people, unfortunately. And now they see, oh, yeah, I should pay you because that divorce was real expensive and I don't want to have another one.
And what do you think that is about people? Do they think that they're smarter than they are and they can pick out their mate, or they found their high school or college sweetheart? Like, why don't people come to people like yourself first, especially when, weddings aren't cheap either. So forget this divorce. But yeah.
Because I think we all run by our subconscious programming, and you just go with that, and you're not smart enough at that point to say, oh, you know what? What I'm familiar with may not be good for me. It feels like love, but that may not actually be love. And just because it's familiar does not mean it's right or good for you. And so that's a big jagged pill to swallow, and I don't think people get that right off the gate.
What's the one thing that people are missing that you keep saying that you could say, you know what, I could have saved you some headaches? Still come to me, but I could have saved you some headache. Is it the trauma bond? What is that one thing that you keep saying over and over?
That the first go around, they missed all the red flags. They saw them, but they didn't trust their gut and their feelings because they went with what was familiar. And then once you get to know somebody, it's easier to ignore those red flags where if we're strategizing and I'm saying, this is what you're looking for, these are the questions you should be asking. And if they're not aligning pretty quickly, it's easier to send that person away than it is 3 months down the line from dating them.
Now, just for clarity, I want you to know the audience, if they've been listeners, and most people are listeners, I always say I have 4 couples I've connected, they've gotten married. I wish they came back for the re-up. And I've only done like mental health counseling on a very low end. I'm considering and applying to get an MSW. So I can put some of my other master's degree with some of the other skills. But are there things that I've seen, applications that women have had that are pages deep for men to fill out? how long is the application for you when they come to you? Because I say, wow, this is a lot. Like Steve Harvey in his whole book didn't have this many requirements.
I mean, the assessment that I use is 45 minutes, but it gives a lot of information, a lot of really good information that gets down into the nitty-gritty. And people not only create a mate, but they learn things about themselves that they didn't even know. Or they start, oh, I make sense to myself now. I see myself in a 360 view instead of wondering, why do I do that? Why do I keep acting that way? Or even with couples, and I'm happy to do this with couples as well, to see, here's your compatibility. This is why you and you are not getting along, because one may be highly adjusted, which means they're very calm, cool, collected. The other one may be low adjusted. And so the calm, cool, collected one feels dismissed. Oh no, feels that like the low adjusted, the neurotic one is hysterical, and the neurotic one feels dismissed. When that person is not dismissive, they're just wired to be calm. So there's a misunderstanding there that I could clear up very quickly and create more level of happiness in a couple's relationship.
You've tried it your way, but you're still in debt. Or maybe you're doing okay, but want to invest smarter, grow faster. MillionaireX.ai gives you real step-by-step strategies to ditch debt or stack wealth. Stop dreaming and start planning. Visit millionairex.ai today. I want you to be the next millionaire next door.
Again, for the audience and the listeners, she is licensed marriage and family therapist. So unlike myself, who I say, oh, I've worked and got kids off heroin and got them into jobs, there's a different type of testing. There's a different type of tier. Do we always, like, opposites attract? Do you ever get the two calm people together, or the two crazy maniacs together? Or is it always one person is one way?
All the time. Yeah. I believe that it goes more on values than calm, and not calm is more like a usual tendency, so that you're likely to behave that way. But we're all motivated by our values, like we're motivated by our subconscious programming. So people that are high in recognition may get together, or people that are high in altruism and security or power or money or aesthetics, something like that. They're like more like the more someone matches your values, the things that you like, the reason you get up in the morning, what makes you happy, then that's more the person you're drawn to. But then again, subconscious programming plays a big role in that. So you marry your parents too. So it's very complicated stew that people pick partners. So I think it's a combination of their values match enough and their subconscious programming matches enough that you're trying to fix your childhood wounds, if you will. And then we call it love, but it's all science.
And with the science, are you able to take somebody who, one person may say this person is broken because of this. This other person says they're just not sensitive because of that. How many years, could you maybe fix somebody who's in a bad place? And of course, it's always a blame game. This tit for tat, and what does that cost? And does insurance cover it? Because people get worried that I can't pay for therapy, or how do I know this is going to work? And, my easy answer is it won't kill you. So why not try it? And if it helps, maybe you saved yourself a divorce, or even, being on Primetime or Dateline. But, give us some timelines if you can.
Are you a successful entrepreneur or one in training? You've got the vision, but do you have the right partner to build your brand, your team, and your future online and off? At CPRfirm.com, we offer expert consulting, financial guidance, and life coaching because we believe in doing life with our clients. After all, what is it for a man to gain the world and lose his soul? Founded by Kellen Coleman, we help our clients not only succeed, but plan to retire rich. Your business deserves the best. Start building your legacy today at CPRfirm.com.
In terms of, well, I mean, the assessment that I use does not measure pathology. But if we're talking about somebody's pathology, that is a therapy question. And I think you need to find people find a therapist that's good. And, changing is hard because, your family, people want you in that homeostasis. They don't want you to change. So not only do you have to go up against your own ego, your own past, your own programming, but be brave enough to create a new space and stand in it with the people around you that are not used to you behaving that way. And that is probably going to make them mad. But if you can find good therapy through insurance, the cost should be manageable, depending on where you live.
Okay. And is therapy something that can be fixed and I'm asking a question I know the answer to, in one session? And I'm really saying this for men, because when we tell men, hey, go find a therapist, it won't kill you. They're like, well, how many sessions do I have to go to? And that's what because to me, it's like, it might be lifetime, if you're depending on your situation. But I have somebody who's trained in this, so I'd like to have you tell the men, especially, and the women, I guess, what that looks like and how they should go about that.
A good therapist's job is to get you out of their office, not to keep you forever. That is not their job. So if they're pushing you for growth, like we have the joke about, how do we get someone to change? How many therapists does it take to change a light bulb or whatever it is that the light bulb has to want to change? So you have to be more motivated than the therapist to change. But if the therapist is doing their job and they're becoming a safe space, and sometimes we call it, transference, that the people transfer their parental relationships onto the therapist and the therapist becomes a safe space for that, then people really can change, but they have to have the courage to do it because they are disrupting everything that they know. And, maybe disrupting what was around them. And it could, sometimes it does cause divorces or life changes or other things like that. But then again, you're breaking generational trauma, and that's not easy, but you don't want it to keep continuing down the line either. So it's well worth it because not only are you changing, but you're changing your children and their children and so on and so forth. So it's a really brave, valiant thing to do and worthwhile.
Okay, and you do it, for high-end people. People could go to your site and be like, oh my gosh, this is, I got my used car for this price. This is for, this is not for the person who says, hey, I want $150 or $500 sessions. Can you talk about, who that perfect client is? Do they need to be a qualified investor? Do they need to have, two houses, one being in the Hamptons and the other one being in LA?
Well, I mean, I would do a special for your listeners if anybody came from your show. But I mean, so what we do is, you pay for the assessment, and then there's lots of there's strategy sessions. So it's a lot. It's time for me to look at your assessment, build your profile, talk to you, figure out what you want, what the mate, that explain you to you, figure out the mate. So this is like 3-4 sessions, something like that.
Okay.
And work behind the scenes.
And I thank you. And because you said, for our listeners, let me just put it out there, because we do have one or two of those guys. We see women on the show and they seem to DM them every time they get a chance. You can let people know if you're married or single, because it gets weird sometimes out there online.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, it is. You see how she curved that question. You guys are gonna have to go.
You're asking me if I'm married or single?
Yeah, it's just to put it out there, because I have clients who I've interviewed and people are reaching out to them, and I'm like, she's pregnant and married. And I get to see the DMs and the pictures, and I feel bad for women. So I'm like, this is how you want to start a conversation. So yeah, I just put that out there, let you know.
Married. I am not married. No.
Okay. You might be in trouble for some of those people. Could you guys not be weird on my name at least and say, hey, I saw you on, we know each other? Some of them, I think I know one of them, but I think I've shamed him enough where he's good.
I mean, I would be open to a very appropriate single gentleman. Nice, appropriate single gentleman.
I take people overseas. Sometimes I tell people, it's it got to take a trip. Got to take a trip, depending on where you are in the world. With your, you have so many different services, whether it's spirituality or recharging or finding a mate. Is everything off the same assessment? Are there just different assessments? And are you an empath? Because we hear a lot of people say, I'm an empath. I'm a psychic. I know these things, and I don't need a degree. So I'd love to know, all of that.
Yeah, and I'm an empath, and I can show anybody in my assessment that it says 4 out of 5, I'm an empath. So not only am I an empath, but I know my score.
Okay. Okay.
So yes, I am an empath.
And with that, can you make somebody else or help somebody else, like knighting? You know how the queen used to knight people, or the king, I guess now, can knight people. Are you able to train somebody with that skill who says maybe I can't afford or I don't want to go to school, but they want to give advice to their family and friends? Is there a package for that?
You mean train people to do coaching and things like that? That is, yeah, I never thought about that. I don't know if I would want to be responsible for something like that in case that goes south. So, so no, I really don't do therapy anymore. I don't do coaching. I like doing the strategy work because you work very, intimately with your client and you're really helping them get what they want. And it's nice to see that go from this is helping them realize who they are to this is what they want to like, let's put questions together. And, then you get to see them happy with the person that you help build for them. It's really rewarding.
For the 14-year-old or the 40-year-old who's listening, who says, you know what, I want to go and get my MSW and I want to go get this education, but I don't know if there's enough money for me to, take the time out versus maybe, becoming something else, whatever that is. You could say doctor, you could say whatever, athlete, whatever they want to do, throw a javelin. What would you say to that person, who says, I want to do it? Can I get 6 figures? Can I get more? Because a lot of people don't want to become teachers because the money's not there in most schools.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, being a teacher is harder than it used to be. But I love teachers, shout out to teachers and therapists and nurses and firemen, police, because they do these jobs that potentially are dangerous and they do it for the love of it. So, being a therapist, you have to work hard, but once you get to be like in my case in New Jersey, like a licensed counselor, not an associate counselor, but to the level where you're a licensed professional counselor, you can make, you have to work all day, but you can make 6 figures doing it. But you're talking to 8 people a day, at least at least 5.
And so when you say that, there's people who talk for free. Maybe they've been furloughed because our government doesn't really respect, a lot of things. And that's any government. I'm not a fan of either party, so you guys know that. I'm a George Carlin, vote George Carlin, even though he's dead and gone. But what tip would you have for someone? Because I have a friend who has her PsyD, but she's not passed the test yet. But she has, 2 or 3 jobs, like you're mentioning, working all day. What threw you out there to say, I can deal with high level people? Was it that you were at the yacht club, that you were in the Hamptons or, at the Breakers?
You want the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
We live in this is the most, I think, important thing that I could say. We live in a vibrational world. And I just decided, like, it's a candy store, Eli. It's a candy store. You just get to go, this is what I want. And this is what I loved about creating, let's create our mate. And I said, you know what? I like fun, luxury, and this is what I want and transformation. And this is what I want my life to be about. So I just decided it and vibrated it. And this is it. Just like anybody else in anybody other field, you have to be that person. You have to vibrate that vibration. And the universe doesn't speak any specific language, but everything is energy. Every single thing that we are is energy. Even like you are touching that cup, you are not actually touching that. It's like the electrons in your thumb are going against electrons in the cup and it's creating a friction. And if that wasn't happening, if there wasn't that resistance between the electrons, your hand would go right through that thing. Because you're just energy in motion.
You guys see the cup that I'm putting in? Yeah, that's mine. My face on there.
So I decided and that this is who I am, and it's like vibrated, and the universe bends to your reality.
Can you tell people, and I'm sure you've had jobs, our clients where you're like, I'm just happy to have someone. Maybe it's right after graduation. What was that feeling like when you said, wait, I actually got paid this? I could have 10x my paycheck. Like, was there just, can you remember that moment?
Yeah, I guess I decided, that what my value was and what I was worth, and like that's who I am, and you just be that person. Just decide that that's who you are, and then you kind of go, yeah, well, of course that is what's happening because that's who that person is, like that's it. Anybody who ever, decided to do anything, they had to be that.
Hello, everyone. Come along with London and Sydney as they show you around the vibrant country of Cameroon. We explore the heart of Africa through the eyes of London and Sydney. Two explorers who journey across the great city of Yaoundé, exploring its rich culture, vibrant market squares, cultural heritage, and wildlife. With giggles and excitement, London and Sydney Explore Cameroon takes you on a fun-filled adventure, providing insight into the country's culture and traditions through the pages of this book. It's packed with exciting stories and super cool facts about Cameroon that will make you go, wow. Get your copy now, available on Amazon and in libraries near you. There's only one easy way to experience the exploration of Cameroon, and it's through London and Sydney. Don't wait, get yours.
I'm thinking of when Art Williams said, just do it in the whole 20-minute speech. And it's this, what is it? And I got it and I heard it, but I got it at a young age. And many people say, well, I never knew what I wanted to do or I don't know my purpose. You work with people. I know you say you don't do too much of the therapy, but can you work with someone to find out this is your purpose and this is why you need this type of mate, or this is why you could, not should, but could have this type of mate to support you? Is that work that you can help somebody with?
Yeah, I mean, when we look at their values, like I said, do they want, what's important to them? And that kind of creates their life, which is their purpose, their meaning. So if you look at me, like I'm high in recognition. I love to be recognized. I'm on this podcast with you. I'm getting recognized. Like this is lighting me up. I love helping people. I love having fun. We're having fun. Hopefully I'm helping somebody. So all of this is ringing my bells. So this is my purpose. So I think what kind of partner would complement these kinds of things? Not somebody who's shy, not somebody who doesn't believe in helping people, those kinds of things. So someone that would match my energy in the things that I value, yet may not be somebody that I would want to be competing with, but somebody that complements me in these areas that I particularly like. They're important to me.
Let people know, and I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I ask everyone, what their community give back is that they're doing, that they'd like to do in the future, and, also how the community can help them. But I think it's the House of Jewels for you. Can you tell people that whole project that you have and let people know, how your family kind of, your daughter especially, might have inspired that?
Yeah, my daughter is named Jules and she has autism. So autism is an epidemic, and I really want to help individuals with autism, especially adults, because they fall off a cliff at 21. There's a lot of services for kids and not enough, but adults have nothing. So if the things that I'm doing can help create a better reality for individuals with special needs, adults, that's my pleasure to do.
And please let them know what type of services, because I'm married to medicine and we talk and, radiologists, which my wife is, I remember she said, I think all radiologists are on the spectrum. Like it's just a special type of person who sits in the dark room all day. And I said, we're all crazy. We're all got something. What your thing is might not, it might look beautiful to everyone else, but behind the scenes it's like, yo, this person, no one like a beta. Like, hey, get me out of here. So can you talk more, about how you help people? Because I don't want people to hit you up for the wrong reasons, but it's something that they can help with and say, I want to join that, or let's partner. I want it to be clear.
Yeah, well, like adults need housing. I mean, where are all these people going? They can't live with their parents forever. Their parents are going to age and, pass on, unfortunately, and they're not going to have services. So adult housing is a big problem, getting good quality housing and having adults live lives that are of quality and not sit around in their rooms and be ignored or be fed food that's not healthy for them and just be institutionalized and not have any quality of life. That's a very specific thing that we could use money for.
Okay. And with that, with the housing, because I've heard all type of things with, hey, maybe we should have, a community with just certain types of people and they can just be in the area. We can provide, and I'm like, well, that sounds like a facility, but I know people who are autistic who would want to be there. They don't want to be just in a community with just autistic people. Maybe there are some, and there's facilities. I work in facilities with all kinds of people, but what's something that we as a community of people in America can do to say, if it's housing, should it be in one facility? Should it be spread out? Should there be vouchers? Because you've looked into this, I'm sure, deeper than
There's all kinds of programs. I've heard of state programs where people foster adults with autism, like they live in their house. Um, I have a friend that I don't know how he does it, but he trains people with autism to do, because they have skills that neurotypical people don't have. So he's trained them to do early breast cancer detection, cyber security, robotics. So they should be doing things like this all day and then have friends and be able to say, you know what, I want to live with other people with autism. I don't. I mean, my daughter, I don't know if I could have that conversation with her. She does talk, but I don't know if I could have that conversation with her. But I'm sure she would want to live among friends, whether they had special needs or not, but peers that were enriching to her, whatever that looks like. And I think everybody with autism has a different answer to that question. So some probably would, others probably wouldn't. And if there's a way that we could communicate with them to find that out, I think the more information we can get from the end user, the better it is.
And with the autism, the rates of people who might suffer with that or have it, not suffer, but have that, but they haven't been diagnosed. So, society kind of pushes them to the side and just says, maybe you're obsolete in my world because they're,
They are. And I think that we eschew what we don't understand. And shame on us for doing that. And it's not that they need to come into our world. We need to understand them and their world and how they are. And I think that these are the canaries in the coal mine, that these people are physically ill from some environmental toxin. And that is the problem. And we need to figure out what that environmental toxin is, or a combination of toxins, and work on that and figure out how to stop that, and then how to heal this population of people and help them.
I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said that. If you can go any deeper for the person who might be like, well, I heard folks say Tylenol could be the cause, is there anything?
There's things I could point the finger at, but I will say this, all right, like, what's in the air, cleaning things, genetically modified, sorry, gotta say it, our food supply is not what it used to be. We don't, like even a Twinkie is not the same Twinkie that we used to eat. Even that is, I think, more toxic than it used to be. But, our nutrients aren't as good as they used to be, and like people used to actually cook from scratch. That kind of gone to the wayside a lot of places. Um, both parents are working. Oh, they tend to skimp on, you know, quality sometimes. I mean, there's things that are banned in Europe but are still done here. Why? Why are genetically modified products banned in other places? We're still, we'll do it. We'll eat it. The gel nails, all the things. Why? Why are we doing this? Like, there's nobody watching the store. I don't get it.
Oh, they're watching the profit. I took a cooking class a year or two ago, and the guy from Poland says the adobe and the products that you guys spice your food up can't even be sold in Mexico or Poland. But I'm like, Adobe is like a Hispanic brand, and I'm a resident of Mexico, so I did do my research and I looked, and I'm like, yeah, the ingredients are different. The sodium is much different, different things. Then I went to Kenya, then I went to Ethiopia, Japan, and I just did my own and I said, man, the food is why I look like this. Okay. And I'm always hungry even after, eating certain things. So you change your mind, you change your habits. You have a book called Welcome Home to Yourself. Is this something where I can journal my habits and give us the game?
Yeah, it's called Welcome Home to Yourself. It's things like, matter of fact, I just found a copy of it. I could kind of read a little bit out to you. Write a letter to your future self. Talks about forgiveness, talks about gratitude, the superfoods of spirituality, we say. All the things that a person needs to regenerate themselves, to start over, to let go, change their vibration, change their energy. Everything's energy. So, if you can heal all those things, you will vibrate differently. And then you can physically start to heal your body that way.
For the stubborn person, will you have an AI model where they can do all of what they can do, and then you can help them with the rest, and then the AI can tell them, and then tune it back to them daily in the Neuralink? Like, where do you see the future with what you do and using artificial intelligence? Is it going to be a great thing, or is it going to be something that some people say destroys it?
I think both. I think technology, unfortunately, we've been so primed now with technology, and now we have a generation of people that have never not had technology, which is terrible. And so it's good for me because this is helping people become more connected. If I'm helping you with a mate and you're learning about yourself, and then you have to go on a date and things like that, I can help people connect because people are not connecting. And so the technology in some senses is great, but people are not sitting around the dinner table talking anymore, not learning social skills, not learning, having connections with people, even their own family. And I think, unfortunately, all this technology is just going to make us lazy and technology dependent. Why would you even think? Our artificial intelligence is going to think for you, and then it's going to become self-aware, and then we are done as a society. We're just the technology is going to take us over, and we're going to be useless. I mean, you're not going to have to write, you're not going to have to drive a car, you're not going to have to, nothing. And then one cyber attack, they've got all your money, everything. It's not good. So it's too much of a good thing.
Too much of a good thing. That might be the next book.
Yeah, it's like a personality trait, the things that like you said, your wife, like she's great at her job and she's probably calm, cool, and collected and very data driven, but those are her strengths. But then those same strengths can work against her in another situation, like Thanksgiving, where she's like not doing small talk, but wants to do medium talk. And it's just a really painful situation for her. I'm just supposing.
Oh, she has to do it because I'm the most smallest talk, rambling of the little thing that happened 20 years ago person. Even my kids tell me, "Do you remember that? And why are you bringing it up?" And so I guess I'm a crazy balance, and yeah, I'm just doing me. But yeah.
But that's why she likes you. When you go out with friends, she doesn't have to talk because
she. You know what? We go out and we're both a personality, I guess. And that's what she says. And it's like, yeah, I don't know. It's like, who's taking the conversation? I like to kind of be invisible, but it's interesting. You would get a kick out of it because she's very like, women can have it all. I'm like, let women have it all. I just needed you to pop out the babies. I'll take care of them. And that's why I told you, I'm coming back from volleyball. I'll knock it out. Like, I am trying to, get out my own demons and things, and why I say, hey, kids, whatever y'all want, I'll stop what I'm doing, within reason, as long as I can keep paying the bills. But I totally, get it. And what do you think about that with women? Again, you have your degrees. I hear a lot of men say online only. This is only online conversation. The people I'm around never say, I don't want my woman to be smart. I don't want my woman to be accomplished. And I'm like, what are we talking about? When you die, do you not want somebody who can put something besides twerking lashes and what the Kardashians did into their brain? Like, can you give some people some insight why you want a smart woman?
Why wouldn't you want a smart woman? Because obviously if you don't want a smart woman and you need to outshine her, that is ego. That is just pure ego. And that's somebody's insecurity. Like, that is on them. They don't want to be outshined because of their insecurity. I can only imagine that would be the answer. That would be boring.
Do you get into that on your podcast at all?
My podcast is usually about spirituality types of things, but I would be happy to get into that on my podcast.
Oh, okay. Well, spirituality versus, man, and people say versus woman. And I've consulted various clients that I won't even say on this thing right here. But I always find it interesting when people talk about relationships that haven't had one for 5 years successfully, haven't had one for a decade successfully, never been married, have no kids. And I'm like, why do people listen to you guys? And I don't mind, trying to help you, but if we're going to put out that toxic man versus woman, I just never saw my life like that because, women have helped me so much in life, period. They birthed you. So I don't get into that. But is there anything that you would say about what we see online? Because I think people just kind of watch what they already thought, and then they watch it again and watch it again and watch it again.
Point. Yeah. I mean, people, filter what they don't want or what's not familiar, and then you have your reticular activating system, your RAS. So like when you buy a Mercedes, all of a sudden you start seeing it all over the road because you can't filter everything. You can't have everything coming at you all at once. So your brain filters things that are important to you. And it usually likes to filter the things that you're putting your attention on because that's all we really are is attention in a meat suit. So whatever you're focused on, you're thinking about, you're speaking to yourself, that's what you're creating and that's what you're going to see. Even if something happens, right? Like I love dogs, but my daughter's afraid of dogs. So if a dog comes into the room, she's going to run and I'm going to go towards the dog. Who's right? It's just our experience. We're having each of us is having our own experiences talking about just about what we see, what we hear, what we're saying to ourselves. That's how we're creating our experience. Everything just is, and then we put meaning behind it.
Well, the meaning that I want people to hear from this, especially if you say, hey, I need more. She has a podcast. She has a beautiful website. Is that podcast also on YouTube? And, can they ever engage with you maybe in a live podcast?
It's not on YouTube, but it's on all other podcasts, Apple, Spotify, all those. If somebody wants to engage with me on a live, they can hit me up on my website and we could set that up. I'm happy to do it.
Okay. Something tells me it can get spicy and you're going to tell it like it is, but that's the New Jersey way.
And I do lives on TikTok sometimes, but that's a fun meeting. People just come in and out all the time. It's hard, but by the time you're like, hey, and they're gone.
And you do some 1.1 million view lives, on TikTok. So people are really checking you out on that platform. So I want you guys to go do that. And I will have links in the description. So I know many of you might be driving or you're at work, but go in the description and check out her, profile and everywhere you want to connect. please give them some last words especially for those who can afford and need the services that are on the fence. 'Cause I find that high earners a lot of times are on the fence and like, there's nothing wrong with me. I made $1 million this month. There's nothing wrong with
Well, we're here in this earthly plane to level up, and we're always going to want something, always going to want something. So it's not a matter of like what's wrong with you, but it's like, what do you want and what's blocking you from that thing? Because you really are all that is. And so if you're finding that you want something, which is why we're here to kind of level up to want more, to grow, then, I can help you get that, especially if it's a relationship. And let's figure out the blocks to that, because you already are that.
Okay. Okay. And last thing, for the person who says, yeah, I want a relationship. I haven't been good at them. I haven't been able to connect. Like, I have a friend who spent about more than a decade in war type settings for the country. Sometimes they feel like, well, the only girlfriend I'm gonna have is somebody I buy a dresser for and bedroom set in Djibouti or and I'm in Pakistan. Are those two, because they can afford it. A lot of the military guys, they can afford that. It Do you deal with military much?
Sure. I mean, I don't deal with a lot of military, but I'm happy to help out a soldier that serves, that's my pleasure. And so are you saying that because they travel so much that it's hard for them to have a relationship, or because they're away so much?
There are ways so much, like they don't even come in the country. I have a friend, he just came back in the country. It's been over a decade because he's like, stepped more than maybe 2 days or something in the US. And look, I won't say your name. So if you hear this, I'm not talking about you. But he's like, the last girlfriend I knew him to have. He's like, yeah, I was in Djibouti and I bought a bedroom set and I had a girlfriend. And, it's a really lonely life. But he is a high ranking military person. But,
Right.
Yeah.
So, but if they had the perfect partner, their partner would travel with them and be at the whatever base or whatever it is that they're at. They would have to find somebody that would have either a job that was remote, or is retired, or independently wealthy, whatever the situation is, but that person is out there.
Okay. And sometimes, you have, even in government contracting, when it goes to a certain level, there's certain places you can't bring your spouse because it's so, there's places in this world you can't even have a TV, but you're getting, $90,000 for that 3 month or 6 month, and the money goes up. So I would advise you guys to go find an expert in this field like Jenny, because this is what she focuses on. This is what her business is. And you don't have to suffer and figure it out. Because if you don't, who knows where your thoughts will take you. And it's not that you're a bad person. Not that you just need help. And we all need help in areas all the time. So Jenna, let them know your website, any social, before we sign off. But I appreciate you. Thank you for coming on.
Oh my God, this was such a pleasure, and it's such an honor to get to know you. It really is. I love honest, true, deep connections. So thank you so much. My website is my name, www.jenajake.com, jenajake.com. Jena has one N. And you can find me on TikTok, Instagram at Jena.Jake. I'm on Facebook, LinkedIn. My podcast is Love, Spirituality, and Freedom, powered by Soul Streaker. Was formerly a Soul Streaker podcast. Where else? And yeah, that's where you can find me. I'm out there. Plenty of, if they just Google me, there's tons and tons of fun. YouTube, I have a YouTube channel.
You guys have gotten the game. I thank you for coming to the end. Now this is your part where you can help things grow. I know, because publicists keep hitting me up. Kellen, hey, Podbean, Apple, Spotify, we like your numbers, but I need you to go over to the YouTube, and I need you, if you give it a like, it helps the algorithm. If you comment, you have a question, that's cool too. But most importantly, I need you to share this with somebody. It will literally change their life. You guys, be blessed out there. Stay tuned. Thank you.
Are you tired of the rat race in America? Are you ready to visit the motherland to relax and rejuvenate? Are you ready to explore all that Africa has to offer? Then check out the brand new Diversified Game Academy course, Prepare for My First Trip to Africa. Are you worried about being able to afford the trip? We got you. We will show you how to travel either on a budget or as a baller. Learn how to stress the value of the USD. Did you know that 100 United States dollars is worth over 1,000 South African rand, or 10,000 Kenyan shillings, or 54,250 West African CFA? Are you worried about taking your kids? Get the game from Kellen Cash, a bona fide world traveler, having traveled to almost 20 countries, several of those in Africa. Get the game on taking your kids on their first trips. Learn how to find the best tickets, get the visas, and plan your own adventures in Africa. Don't let Eddie Murphy have all the fun. Plan your own coming to Africa trip starring you, produced by you, and featuring you. If you are ready for a life-changing experience, sign up for our course today, Diversified Game Academy. Get prepared and purchase at diversifiedgame.com.